Hey everybody, and welcome to OUTOFSCOPE. I'm Brian Cristiano, and this is episode number 37, Using Facebook Data to Drive Business Decisions.
Sports marketing expert Brian Cristiano.
Brian Cristiano.
Marketers and advertisers and brands always have to keep in mind, you have to play to the state of your audience.
Sports fans are arguably the most passionate people probably on the face of this planet. If you're not passionate, do something else. Got a big week for me this week. I get married this weekend. Kind of crazy. It snuck up really fast. I almost can't believe it. But it's supposed to be beautiful weather, which is great because it's going to be outside. And it's just kind of exciting to know that there's so many people coming in from out of town, loved ones, family, friends, people here. It's going to be really awesome. And yeah, it's kind of also nice to have all the big things finishing up and, ready for the big day. Though I got to give 99% of that credit to Allie because that's, mostly her, not me. But I can't wait for it. It's gonna be an exciting week. It's gonna be an exciting weekend. But we're still gonna try to do some shows before I leave for a little while. And this is one I've wanted to do for a while. I think there's a lot of really great information about Facebook and Facebook marketing out there. You can take days on days to go through all the good content if you search for it online. But where I think a lot of it falls flat is, talking about, the marketing data, and not just from a standpoint of did these ads perform well, did these ad segments perform well, did this A/B test work and which ad was better. There's a lot of that data out there. There's a lot of that information on how to look at that and how to think about it. But what there isn't a lot of people talking about is how to use the deeper level of data on Facebook combined with other data available to clients and figure out how to make actual tangible business decisions based on that data. And what I mean by that is not just about what you're doing, not just using that data to make decisions for your Facebook marketing, using that data to make decisions on, is this the right product? Is this the right color? Do people like it? Can there be improvements about it? Is this the right demographic for us as a brand? Is there another demographic for us as a brand that we're missing out on, that we didn't know about, that we're not focused in on? Because so many brands and clients and sports teams and whatever have done their research and have tons of data, and this is who our target audience is, and this is a lot of that. However, is objective, and there's even as much as information and research goes into that. There's still so much that, in the real world, in a tangible world, what works is different than what happens in closed doors when you're interviewing 40 people, asking them questions about your brand or asking them questions about a product, right? The Coke versus Pepsi thing is a perfect example. If you don't know about that, go and watch a video or read something about that because I think that's an amazing case study. But what I really think the value of Facebook, outside of course, it being a huge value proposition from that's where everybody's eyeballs are, that's where everybody's, looking. It's a social component. You can target really, really well, better than probably anywhere else on any platform that has ever existed to this point, which just in that and of itself makes it valuable and a great reason to market on there. But there's a whole layer of depth that can be had from understanding and looking at the data and looking at the interactions that are happening from the marketing that you're doing on a platform like Facebook, and taking that and making tangible decisions from the business side, not just from the marketing side. And what I've seen and what we've seen, for example, we had a client that we had a bunch of really fantastic photography. Based on the brand and the brand's message, and everything was on brand, as everyone loves to say, and it was great and everything looked awesome, and we ran all of these different ads over multiple different segments and different campaigns with A/B tests and all sorts of different stuff. And of course we learned so much in the campaign in and of itself, but after, let's say, 2, 3, 4 months of data with reaching out to millions and millions and millions of customers, we were able to look really deep into that data and look at not only what ads were performing And did this ad perform that better than this ad? And did this demographic perform? Did the young demographic perform better than the middle-aged demographic? And did the blue logo perform better than red logo? That's stuff that everybody is doing and should be doing. But taking a look at it on a deeper level and finding out that there were, out of, let's make up a number, 10 images, there were 7 that just didn't perform in any demographic. Why was that? Well, you could end it there and just say, oh, those 7 didn't perform and these are the 3 that did. But looking at it on a deeper level, looking at not only the data and trying to find commonalities of age, sex, location, income levels, all sorts of different data that's available through Facebook. Looking at all of that and seeing, are there any correlations between those data points and what was and wasn't performing, number one. And then number 2, using the social component of it as a testing ground and looking at, well, what were people talking about in the comments on these ads versus these ads? Was there anything that was consistent? What were they talking about? And there was a lot of things that we found that were negative, that a lot of people say, oh, well, that's just because you're advertising. No, that's not true, because working with dozens and dozens of sports clients, we see that some clients have nothing but positive interactions with their brands, even when they're selling something. Not just promoting content through different channels, but hard sales, call to actions. If it's really good and they're targeting their audience in the right way and they're connecting with them, we've seen campaigns where there was no negative interaction. Like no negative, all positive, very, very good, and reaching millions of people. Why is that different for one brand versus another brand? And I think that's where looking at the context of the advertising in combination with the data, and then cross-analyzing that data, not only what's happening on Facebook, but is this matching what we're seeing in e-commerce? Is this matching what we're seeing in, let's say, Instagram or Twitter or whatever? Looking at that, cross-analyzing it, and saying, wow, it wasn't the color of the ads, it wasn't the copy on the ads. They didn't relate to this because those people in those ads didn't look like us, the target audience. They didn't feel that those people were genuine and didn't represent the brand well. They felt that the product just wasn't complete. It needed more work. It needed more R&D. It needed to go back, and have more work done and fix some issues with the product itself. And those are hard things to hear as a brand. But if you're willing to accept that this is not only a really successful marketing channel, but it's a great testing channel for your business strategy, for your product strategy, for your R&D, then big things can happen. Well, guess what? With that particular client, we went out and shot all new photography with the things that we learned. And guess what? Months later, that photography is now well outperforming the photography that originally happened that was within brand guidelines. Way outperforming. Another client, for example, a sports team. We found out that certain words were not resonating with people who are not fans of that team, but were fans of the sport. Like there wasn't any correlation. They didn't get it. They didn't understand. And then we found that by changing a few images, the style of the images, and changing a few words, that people that were outside of being already fans of this team now started to become fans of the team. They now started to buy tickets to the games. And so that didn't just affect, oh wow, now this is more successful. What it impacted was, well, we changed copy on the website. We changed copy on the landing pages. We changed images on the site. We changed the way the funnel works on the e-commerce side to drive people from first interaction content through purchasing a ticket. What else it did was we were running traditional media, commercial, TV commercial, in conjunction with a part of that. We ended up re-editing the TV commercial based on what we learned from the Facebook campaign. And that's really important because after we re-edited it halfway through the time span in which we were airing these commercials, the second one that was edited based on what we learned from Facebook way outperformed the first commercial. And we would have had no way to know that because the first commercial actually tested really well by itself. But we had nothing to compare it to. And Josh is telling me he's got to change the battery, so we're going to have a little quick... That's probably really weird. Anyway, Josh had to change the battery. So I kind of lost a little bit of a train of thought there. But what I was saying was that the data that we got from Facebook, the interactions, both from the data looking at the likes, the shares, the click-throughs, the CPI, all of that data that's typical, but then looking at the comments and then launching some new ads with new segments to get some more feedback as actual testing, and in asking questions and so forth, and using that data to then change the rest of the marketing campaign, the overarching marketing campaign, that is huge. And I think that's a huge piece that people are not thinking about, and marketers and brands and teams and whoever aren't thinking about Facebook as a platform, not only just as a marketing channel, that's what they're thinking of it as, is just this marketing channel, and they're not thinking about it from a standpoint of it's a really successful marketing channel, but the data that we can get out of it well exceeds the value in which the marketing happens in that channel. So just getting the data alone that can end up changing the brand, changing the product, changing the brand's positioning. Another example is we had another client where their demographic that they've told us, their research, everything showed it, was young females, 20s to late 30s. That was it. That's their target demographic. Well, through some testing on Facebook, we found out that there's also a demographic for this same product that are males over 45, in the 50, 55, 60-year-old demographic, which is bizarre. Why is that? Why would all the other data say otherwise, that no, you need to be focused in on this younger female demographic? Yet, when we did testing on Facebook, we found that, oh, well, actually, there's this whole older male demo that's interested in your product. Why is that? Well, no one ever thought to test the older male demographic. So all of the research, the R&D, was into, which is the spectrum of the females that we're going after. Nobody really did a true broad spectrum. Nobody really had the ability to test on the fly and say, well, what happens if we show this to this demographic? What is the feedback? Are they clicking through? Are they purchasing? What are they doing? And we found out the answer was yes. That's a game changer, because that's a whole entire new segment of audience that's available to this client. That's incredible. And that's because we're able to test, we're able to analyze, and it doesn't stop there. You can't just look at the Facebook data. You have to look at that with what's happening on the website, what's happening in other social channels, what's happening across the board. But I think Facebook as a platform has the most depth for data and information because every bit is in there. And we can look at so many different angles and aspects. And I think the one mistake, however, and the tip that I can give as far as doing this would be, you can't just look at the data on a too granular or short-term basis. I've had clients say, hey, we saw a spike in traffic, or we saw a lot of dislikes or unlikes or whatever 2 days ago. What was that about? Talk to our analysts, and it's like, I don't know, it was an anomaly. People that day just weren't feeling it, right? Nothing changed. There was no patterns. There wasn't any, oh yeah, but there has to be a reason for it. And the answer is no, there doesn't have to be a reason for everything, because if you look at everything too granularly and too closely, everything looks like an issue. The way that I state it is, if you were to look at the stock market on an hourly basis or a daily basis, you would kill yourself. You would drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what the pattern was. Why is it going up? Oh, now why is it going down? Oh my God, why isn't it going anywhere? You would go nuts trying to figure this pattern out. But if you took steps back and you looked at the chart on a year, you would clearly see, oh, it trended up for 6 months, and then it trended down for 3 months, and then it trended up for 6 more months. You would clearly see the patterns. And I think that is the danger in which we live with this data-driven marketing insights, is that people are now trying to get too granular with some of it. The timelines are too short. The data is too little. Oh, well, this is happening because, not necessarily. Maybe it is. But without being able to take steps back and look at it over time, and I say a minimum, really, to do it properly, 3 months, to really look and digest that data. 6 months is better. A year is better. This is when you get into the long tail analytics of it and start looking at what patterns are we seeing. We have the ability and the benefit of being able to look at multiple clients in the same industry and see, are we seeing same patterns with other clients? A lot of the times the answer is yes. Sometimes it's no. Sometimes there's no correlation, or sometimes the business is too different. But it's about looking, regardless, it's about looking at the data from a bigger perspective and trying to go as deep as you can with that information and find really interesting insights. And using the context of the conversation, i.e. Likes, shares, comments especially, and digesting that information in correlation to the data that you're looking at and seeing, wow, like, well, how are these people reacting? And then testing demos or testing theories by using Facebook. And it's not just, it doesn't have to just be a testing ground. And that, I think, is the thing too that I want to make sure is clear here. I'm not just saying, like, go throw a bunch of different ads up and see what works, you know, throw a bunch of shit at the wall and hopefully see what works for you, because now you're just going to really ruin and muddy your brand. It's about making sure you start where it needs to start, do everything appropriately, target the right people, the right audiences with the right message, and start to see some patterns. And then where you start to see some interesting information form, test some theories on that. Still on brand guidelines. Then maybe get a little outside of brand guidelines, push that a little bit, see what happens. Are they reacting better or worse? Ask some questions. That's the beauty of social, right? It's interactive. Take the comments that happen and dive deep into them. There's no harm in reaching out to some of these people and be like, hey, so you thought this. Why? Why'd you think that? Ask the questions. There's nothing wrong with that, and they'll probably think more of your brand for doing so because you're interacting with them. It shows you give a crap, which most brands don't, or at least they appear to not. But yeah, that's, at the end of the day, some really super valuable information that can be had. It's a lot of work, though. It's not as simple as just launching a campaign and saying, oh, we get a higher click-through rate and a lower CPM on here. Great, that's the right campaign. Is it? I don't know. Maybe you're missing a whole target audience over here. You wouldn't know without getting deep into that data. But again, you got to make sure that you don't look at it too granularly, or it's just a bunch of noise. You got to look at the big picture, the long-tail analytics, to really understand it well. And it's not just, doesn't start and end at Facebook. It starts at Facebook, trickles into everything else. Facebook is the backbone in which this data can lead to bigger and deeper insights. With that, I'll leave you with the end of episode 37. Keep an eye out for episode 38. Hopefully I get it out before I get married. I'll let you guys know. Anyway, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do it, please. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Brian Cristiano, and this is episode number 37. Using... I forgot what the hell we're doing.